In 2015, the White House Social and Behavioral Sciences team changed one word in an email and increased the number of veterans accessing career counseling services by 9%. This is Behavioral Science Toolkit, and I'm Alex Moog. Bureaucracies move at a notoriously slow pace and can easily get stuck using outdated methods to deliver services or to interact with citizens. Poorly designed forms can push people away from accessing essential services, and long wait times can keep help from those that need it most. But it doesn't need to be this way. It's possible to redesign forms to make them easier to understand and complete, and to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of public services. And insights from behavioral science can help to achieve just that. One of these behavioral insights, the Endowment Effect, helped achieve that 9% increase from earlier. In the email, instead of stating that these veterans were eligible to access these services, they reminded them that they had earned the benefits by serving their country. The Endowment Effect says that people value things that they own or have earned over things that they have not. So this simple change in language changed the veterans' perception around their relationship with the available services. But this little tweak, with its outsized impact, didn't appear out of nowhere. There are a few more foundational problems that behavioral science can help governments to solve. And so, I've brought in an expert on behavioral science and government to talk about them.
My name's Joseph Sherlock, Joey. I am a senior behavioral scientist at the Center for Advanced Hindsight. We're an applied behavioral science research center. We focus on trying to use behavioral science, human-centered design and rigorous evaluation to try and bring innovation into the world. The behavioral science approach or what we do, I think offers governments two main things. One is a mechanism to innovate. Not the only mechanism to innovate, there are others, but it offers a mechanism to innovate, and it offers a mechanism that typically enables innovation that is low cost, that is scalable.
This is key. Many public departments don't have the capacity to develop new solutions to old problems. Not enough workers, time, or resources can mean the same tactics are used repeatedly. David Halpern, leader of the Behavioral Insights team, says this about what he encountered when first trying to generate buy-in for the behavioral science approach from ministers in the UK government. New governments like to talk about new approaches, but many of these approaches are quietly forgotten after a year or two, and with them the advisors that made them fashionable. Ultimately, the challenges and tools of government don't change much over time. Behavioral science is different. It has demonstrated impact while avoiding much of the red tape usually involved with government policymaking.
Number two then is evidence and science. And look, really the future of government needs to be centered in evidence-based policy and centered in just an unrelenting understanding that we need to base what we do in good science, good analysis, and good strong structured methods.
Evaluation of new ideas in government can be elusive. For the same reason that coming up with new, innovative ideas is difficult, so is making sure those ideas work when they're implemented. Behavioral science brings methods of evaluation that can help governments determine whether what they're doing is working, the gold standard of which is randomized controlled trials. When they started, both the Behavioral Insights team in the UK government and the Social Behavioral Sciences team in the US government had to prove their worth. Rightly skeptical of new approaches, government officials cared most about two things. Did behavioral science work? And did it save money?
The early years in the behavioral science movement, if you will, were sort of characterized by teams needing to prove return on investment and needing to demonstrate impact. And so a lot of the early work was in areas where the researchers or the practitioners or innovators, whoever they were, could develop a low-cost, more often than not, nudge-style intervention. And so classic examples were like, let's put the default on default on retirement savings, so you have to opt out rather than having to opt in. Others were like, put a social norms letter on a tax, a social norms line on a tax letter. And in both cases, you have a financial outcome. So it's very, you can see a very simple, clear return on investment. You have very large samples typically, so it's easy to run an experiment. And the interventions themselves are low cost, small tweak style. And so, easy to push through, easy to test experimentally.
Both of these interventions had a big impact. Changing the default on retirement savings to automatic savings increased the number of savers from 36% to 71% in the UK. And telling people who haven't paid their taxes on time that almost everyone else has increased tax revenue by over £9 million in less than a month. Both findings were a result of rigorous evaluation using randomized controlled trials, and both were virtually costless to the government. Interventions like these proved the usefulness of behavioral science in government, but not all problems are improved with such simple solutions.
Sort of this type of innovation has given us a field. I think and hope that the future of behavioral science will go beyond this. And so I think we need to start to move as a field into tackling more pithy, complex, ongoing behaviors. So both of those previous ones, paying your taxes and opting into retirement savings, are discrete behaviors. They're things you do one-off. Once you've paid your taxes, you're then done for the next year. Once you've opted into retirement savings, you're then done till you move job. Some of the more pressing issues we have at the moment are often in areas where the behaviors are continuous and complex and ongoing. So encouraging people to consistently perform sustainability-related behaviors, or trying to change unconscious and systemic biases within a system. It's not a one-off thing. You don't just fix that by switching a light bulb.
Tackling recurring behavioral problems requires more than taking existing programs and systems and applying light-touch nudges. Deep systemic problems need deep systemic solutions.
One of the frontiers for behavioral science needs to be system design. So rather than taking existing systems, like you said, and sort of polishing them or tweaking them or providing some insight around the fringes, actually behavioral science helping to design the system from scratch.
The problem with deep systemic solutions is that you often can't really test them ethically. You can't pass one set of laws for one group of people and pass another set of laws for another group of people to see which one does better. But that doesn't mean that behavioral science is useless as a policy design tool. Without the evaluation part, it still provides a great body of research and evidence to develop innovative, effective ideas. Policy designers can use behavioral science frameworks and models like the simple, general, easy-to-remember EAST framework from the Behavioral Insights team, or the slightly more complex behavior change wheel, developed specifically for creating effective policy interventions by researchers at University College London. Behavioral science is already being implemented in government work from the local level, like in Durham, North Carolina, where the Center for Advanced Hindsight is located, all the way to internationally at the United Nations, tackling problems from reducing the number of commuters who drive to work to reducing violent extremism. If you'd like to learn more about how behavioral science can be used to make government policy and evaluation better, I've left some resources below for you to check out.
So we wanted to call the dog after a Harry Potter character, a Harry Potter character that was possibly not one of the most famous ones. We went with Luna. Turns out everyone calls their dogs Luna, and it has nothing to do with Harry Potter.